Oddities. Welcome back to another episode of Midnight Curiosities. I'm Curator Raquel.
And I'm Curator Warbeauty.
Coming at you live from, and don't hate me for this one, but we're at 7-Eleven this week.
We are.
Yeah, so I asked my mom where we should be coming from this week, and she panicked and said 7-Eleven.
But it's not totally unfitting because, as we know, the site of the Ouija board creation is now a 7-Eleven.
That's true, and I stopped at 7-Eleven on my way here.
So, really, it's really fitting.
Sure, I guess so.
Do you guys have... Okay, so half our listener base is not American.
Correct.
They probably are like, what on God's green earth is a 7-Eleven?
Are you sure? I thought 7-Elevens were international.
Are they?
There were so many 7-Elevens in Japan.
See, I lived in Okinawa, and there were no 7-Elevens.
Okay, when I went to Japan, I went kind of all over.
You did mainland, yeah.
I went all over mainland, and there's just a 7-Eleven on every street corner beside the Starbucks.
That's so weird, because in Okinawa, they have the Japanese 7-Elevens everywhere.
Really?
On every corner.
So it's like a normal 7-Eleven, except it's just got nicer stuff in it, and like good food.
More Japanese.
Yeah, more Japanese. But definitely still a 7-Eleven.
We used to go to the corner stores, and there were 3 different ones in Okinawa, and they sell these baby cookies, but they are baby phallus cookies, because I can't say the P word.
That is an interesting... I'm perplexed.
They were little pink
mildly
cookies.
Concerned.
Little pink cookies, and they had these naked little cherub boys on the front, and they were in the shape of little...
But why?
I didn't make them. I'm not Japanese.
Huh. I wonder if it's anything like the baby in like a king cake.
I don't know.
I don't know yet either.
But we used to look at them all the time and wonder.
You never thought to Google it?
I would if I knew what the actual name
If you
was.
knew how to Google it without showing up on a watch list?
Okay, right. First off, if I wasn't gonna get, a call from the director of the FBI, or if I could, so I don't read kanji.
Okay.
So
kanji's very hard to read.
Right, and it was all Japanese packaging.
Of course.
So if anyone's Japanese or even knows about these cookies,
why didn't you Google Translate it? So on Google, to translate the app, they have a camera function where you can just point your camera at any language and it can translate it in real time.
Okay, so that actually hadn't been developed fully when I was in Japan, because that was actually brand new technology that came out, I think, when I came to America again. They were like just releasing that.
When it came out, I was a senior in high school, and
what year was that?
2015.
Yeah.
So I did not care about taking Spanish 101 my senior year at all in a class full of freshmen.
Okay.
And so every time she would hand out our assignments or even tests or anything, I would pull my phone out and just Google Translate it right there in front of her. And one day she asked me, she was like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Look at this app. It translates it right there for you." Like, explained to her exactly how I was cheating. And she said, "This is so cool. Everybody download this app. It's super useful."
Good. I'm glad. I want that for you. I'm glad.
Okay, so I'm very excited today, and it's because I have a fun Jesus fact that I wanted to drop on you.
You guys, she came in, she was like, "I got a Jesus fact, we have to record."
I've been wanting to tell her this all day.
Okay.
But I wanted to do it on recording.
Okay, so this week's episode...
Unrelated.
Is completely unrelated to the Jesus fact.
Unrelated to my fun fact. Okay, we'll get there in a second.
Okay.
No, I saw this on Tumblr today, and it really made me laugh, and I wanted to share it.
Okay.
Okay, so I learned that the word cream and Christ come from the same origin.
Okay.
Which is the word for to anoint. Is like the Latin word for it. From which both cream and Christ come from. And so I've been thinking in my head, creme de la Christ, all day long. And it keeps making me laugh. And it makes me so happy.
I need our viewers to understand. She has this innocent creme de la Christ issue going on.
Creme de la Christ.
and I went another way.
Oh no.
With that.
Oh no.
That we don't have the explicit rating for me to explain.
Oh no. Oh God. I don't know where you went there, but I don't want
either way
to know.
Either way, people are being anointed.
Creme de la Christ.
So that's been your weekly Jesus fact. Thank you, Tumblr, for providing us with an endless array of entertaining Jesus facts.
I'm so sorry. Okay, let's get into the episode.
All right, but speaking of Jesus, the Christ, the anointed,
The cream.
the cream.
The big cream himself.
Why do you have to say it like that? Why do you have to say the big cream himself? Anyways, this has been Midnight Curiosities. No, so this week's episode is on exorcisms. So last week we talked about possession.
Yes, we did. Because we're doing a series.
Not all I can think about is like haunted eclairs. It's like these sentient eclairs just walking around with their
so sorry.
crucifixes.
Okay, so we are continuing our mini-series today on metaphysical taboos within religions.
Yeah.
And this week we're talking about exorcisms. If you tuned in last week, we talked about possession, and this is the natural conclusion to possession.
Maybe this is a conclusion.
Okay, well, it's not the conclusion to the series.
Well, no, but to possession. Maybe it's a conclusion to possession. Because, so what happens is, all right, so last week we got possessed.
Okay.
Now we're possessed. What do we do about it?
Excellent question.
Well, either we just let it happen, because whatever. I mean, that is, you can literally
just live like that.
do nothing about it. That is an option, people. I need to really understand this. If you're possessed,
Just live with your new demon BFF.
you literally don't have to do anything. Don't let the media lie to you.
You don't have to get an exorcism.
You don't have to. However,
But you can.
However, it is recommended that you get what is called an exorcism. And an exorcism,
It's a big fancy word.
apparently it's Greek and it means binding by oath.
What?
We'll get into that. It's the religious or spiritual practice of evicting demons or other spiritual entities from a person or an area that is believed to be possessed.
Okay, that makes sense in a way. I don't know, you said evicting and I was thinking about the demons not paying their rent.
Well, I mean, that's really what it is. They're not paying their rent.
They're not.
Not being very good tenants.
Okay. So we got possessed and then boom, we got an exorcism done. Bye. No
Okay.
more demon. We're good.
Right, but you know what is an exorcism? So there are a few ways that you can perform an exorcism. I think personally, and again, this all comes down to our Illuminati, Catholic Church, Pope, Vatican conspiracy. I really think that they have the most elegant system.
The Catholics?
I think that if you're going when you're in
The Catholics want you to believe they have the most elegant everything.
but they really do for exorcisms. I mean, they're like the gold standard of exorcists.
I can see that because they I don't know, they give it more validity in a way. They kind of have an actual process for it, and
They have
standards
outfits.
and
They have matching
Costumes.
jewelry. They have color schemes.
they have the whole setup.
They have a language specifically for it. Like, the Catholic Church really did this right.
Sure.
And this is where, like, sexy Catholic stuff kind of comes from, is actually a lot of exorcist gear.
Good.
Yeah, so now that you're cursed with that knowledge,
We're bringing you a lot of curse knowledge today.
just in case you wanted to know. So exorcisms can be performed in one of a few ways. So either you can make the entity swear an oath. So
Promise you're not going to do this again.
kind of.
Timothy.
Well, let's say you're possessed, you're Christian, you're possessed by a demon. Knowing the demon's name gives you power over that entity, because now you can force it to make oaths.
Sure. Names are power.
Right, names are power, and so oath binding is powerful across pretty much all religions.
Of course.
That's not something you mess around with. Like,
Right.
That's your word. That's for real.
Yeah.
But you can make the entity swear an oath. You can do this elaborate ritual to get rid of the entity, because sometimes, possessed victims can be unconscious and non-responsive. So in that case, how do you do anything? Well, there are shamans and other exorcists in the world of various traditions that will do elaborate rituals and all sorts of healing rituals over the person.
I do want to clarify real quick for our listeners. Last week we talked about several different kinds of possession, and exorcism is generally only required for a bad possession. You don't really get exorcised for a good possession or voluntary possession?
No, not typically, because normally in a voluntary possession case, it's a mutual contract that you've written into your ritual.
Right.
And it's a limited time.
The entity tends to abide by your, like, boundaries.
Right. In an involuntary possession, or a negative possession, I should say, malevolent one, the entity doesn't care about you. Satan possessing you on Tumblr is not your friend.
No. On Tumblr?
You never saw those posts on Tumblr?
I did.
Okay, I thought so.
But Satan,
I thought you were trying to, like...
Satan can possess you anywhere. Not just on Tumblr.
No, but... do you guys ever see those stupid Tumblr posts where the people are like, and then I got possessed by, like, Satan every night, and he would, like, rape my soul, and...
Cool.
And, like, he tells me all these dark things, but we're, like, best friends, but he, you know, tells me to do all this stuff.
He's my forbidden lover.
He's my forbidden lover. You guys ever see that nonsense on Tumblr? That's fake. Don't listen to any of that. That's just, that's junk.
Who are you following on Tumblr?
You never see those?
Listen, we don't need to talk about what I see on my Tumblr.
All right, fair. But in the case of real malevolent possession, you know, you're going to get really sick. And there's just nothing you can do about that. So we talked last week about some of the requirements
to qualify as possessed.
So when you go to, and we'll use the Catholic Church first because they're the highest profile.
The gold standard.
They're the gold standard of exorcism. They have specific requirements that have to be met. Like there are certain signs and symbols and behaviors and smells and certain things that have to be met.
And we discussed all of that last week.
Now, when they agree to give you an exorcism...
Sure, once you meet those qualifications.
They will send a dude out.
Okay.
So exorcists have special training in the Catholic Church.
Good.
They don't just send any, like,
thank God
priest
for that.
Out. Right, they actually don't send any priest out. There is literally an exorcist college...
Good.
In Rome.
There should be.
Of priests that are qualified and trained to act. Now, any priest can technically exorcise, but... It's done by specialists, and you have to have attended the exorcism college.
You don't want your local Jeff coming out there yelling at the demons. That's just going to make it mad.
Well, I mean, yeah. It is just going to make it mad, and it's not going to do anything.
No.
Also, for those out there who think that they can perform an exorcism, you can't.
No.
You can't. Let me dispel this right now.
Did you get a college degree in exorcism?
Yeah. Are you a college trained exorcist? No. Then you can't perform an exorcism. Okay. So let me.
If you saw it on Supernatural, you can't do it.
Okay. Yes, exactly.
I know that's where you were going.
Right. If you're watching TV and think you can do this, I have bad news for you.
I know people on Tumblr who have memorized the Supernatural exorcism. It's like a paragraph of Latin that they say.
Right.
And it works every time. And those people, I'm talking to you directly. You can't do it.
Don't try it.
You can't. TV is fake.
So I actually never saw the show Supernatural.
Good. I don't recommend it.
Which I understand is going to be a little bit of a
I hyperfixated
it
on it for a long time. So I have seen it.
Good. I want that for you.
But
I don't know if they're using the real Latin or not. So exorcisms have their own blessings and rites and prayers. There's the cross of Saint Benedict. Because, you know, Catholics love all their different crosses. Well, the cross of Saint Benedict is the exorcism cross.
Okay.
And it is a specific kind of crucifix. And that is the Crucifix of Exorcisms. Now, obviously... there is a story behind that.
Of course.
Do I know the story verbatim? Absolutely not, because I am not Catholic, nor have I ever been Catholic. But I did work with Catholic priests when I was doing demonology, and I actually did learn that. So it is specifically the Saint Benedict cross. I actually own one.
Okay.
That was blessed by the Archdiocese in Rome at the Vatican. It's like one of my coolest possessions.
That doesn't surprise me about you at all.
It's one of the coolest things I own. I have a funny story about that.
Go ahead.
About this crucifix. So I'm a military veteran, and I have paranoid PTSD. Which
just put it all out there, huh?
Well, you know, the people deserve to know. So I've been diagnosed with paranoid PTSD. So it will put this into context of why I didn't just call the police.
Okay.
So it's 2 a.m. My roommate wasn't home. Her kids weren't home. And we had a pit bull. And the pit bull starts barking at the front window.
Okay, and where in the world are you?
I'm in roughly where I live now.
Okay.
In like the Washington, D.C. area, but more in the rural farming.
Sure. That's fine. In Virginia.
Right, so I'm in like farmland, Virginia. I don't have neighbors across the street from me. I don't have neighbors to the left of me. I don't have neighbors to the right of me.
And your dog's barking?
Dog's barking. I figure it's a deer. Because he'd be barking at deer, right?
Sure.
And then the dog starts barking more. And I'm like, oh man, here we go. This dog barking, these deer. And then he goes from the front door to the back door, which instantly spooked me. And I didn't think, oh, the deer ran around the house. I thought, okay, we have an invader.
Sure.
Okay, so I also, being prior military, I had a handgun. So I took out my gun, and I had it locked in a case. I opened it up, loaded that sucker up, had a full clip in that gun.
Thing.
Tell me why I grabbed the gun and the crucifix. Because now, in my head, at 2 a.m, here's the scenario playing out.
I can just imagine you with a gun in one hand and you're the American dream.
It literally was, it was like the picture of America. This was ridiculous. And I laugh now because I realize how stupid I really look.
Sure, but you were scared.
I wasn't scared. I had my adrenaline was going. So I'm actually trained in like FBI and police raid sweeping. And so I was in the Marine Corps and I went to shooting school. So I have the gun in one hand and I'm sweeping like I'm busting this door in to like raid some pedophile ring.
Sure.
I have the crucifix hanging out of my closed fist up against the weapon.
Good.
So, because this is either 5 assailants who are going to kill me and rape me, or this is a demon.
Okay.
There was no possibility of anything else in my head.
Sure.
I make sure that my home security system is on. We had ADT, so I make sure the ADT is good.
Sponsored by ADT.
Sponsored by ADT. I flipped every light on.
Keeping demons out of your house since 1973.
I flipped every light on in this house. I made sure every window was locked. I literally put the tip of the gun like around the curtains outside.
Slice the pie. You gotta go.
Yeah. I literally am like poking the gun out from these curtains.
Sure.
And also holding the crucifix up at the same time. Because if it's assailants, they're going to see gun. If it's demons, they're going to see crucifix blessed by the Archdiocese room.
What if the assailant saw the crucifix? It was like, oh no, we can't rob a priest.
Mission accomplished either way. Listen, all I know is that this crucifix
was your answer.
Was the second thing I grabbed. I wasn't even Christian, I'm pagan. And
right.
The crucifix.
That's what you're thinking, like, why?
Tell me why this used in exorcisms messed up crucifix that was blessed in Rome by the Vatican is the second thing I grabbed after the gun.
I don't have an answer for you.
My cop friend asked me, I told him this, because I didn't go to sleep. I looked like a wreck the next day at work. And my cop friend asked me, he was just like, why didn't you just call the police? And I'll be honest with you, I had a gun and a crucifix. Didn't even occur to me. I was like, I can handle
what more
anything.
could they offer you?
Right. What was the police gonna do? Because if it's bad guys, I was stashing knives in case they got the gun away. But that's my cool, like, okay, weird fact. Because you guys know I grew up Mormon. So I was a Christian. And I fundamentally was raised Christian. I collect antique crosses, but not just any antique, not like the big gaudy wall ones. I collect like little rosary ones. And I went to France and I picked up some from like the 14th century and I had these like really elaborate ones, but I only have one St. Benedict cross. And it
blessed by the Pope.
It was blessed by the Archdiocese at the Vatican in Rome. Thank you. And it's one of my coolest things that I own.
Say it one more time.
My St. Benedict cross blessed by Rome.
Okay, so exorcisms.
Well, no, okay.
Stay on topic.
I was. And so we're talking about exorcism crosses.
You were going to exorcise that demon with your St. Benedict's cross?
I was.
No, because you were not qualified.
Not true. So, I am not qualified to perform Catholic exorcisms.
You're going to get a back home countrywood exorcism.
So, let's step away from the Catholics who have a whole system.
Sure.
And let's get into the Protestants. Have y'all ever seen those miracle healers? and they're like, we gonna heal the sick, and they're like the televangelists.
Yes.
And they like slap you on the forehead.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's an exorcism.
Okay. What? Okay.
Yeah. You didn't know that's what that was?
An exorcism?
Yeah, that's a Protestant exorcism.
They're just like shooting all of the bad vibes away.
Yeah.
They're vibe checking you so hard.
Yeah, they vibe check you basically. And that's all an exorcism is. It's literally just a shocking reset to the brain. It's brain trauma.
But is it an actual demon that they're exorcising?
Well, so here's the weird science behind it. And okay, this is interesting. You guys are going to pay attention. So, there are two ways you can think about this. There is a physical demonic entity enters your body, and a priest or whoever basically commands it out of your body. But scientifically, if you were going to have an explanation for how it did this and what it did, it's actually a lot of biology. So a demonic entity is not natural to your body rhythm, chemistry, or anything. So it is going to completely disturb your biorhythm. Everything about your body is going to be disturbed. A priest, or whoever is performing an exorcism, is essentially traumatizing you so heavily, because exorcisms are always traumatic.
Always.
Always. And that's the point of them.
But hey, so are possessions.
Right. They're also traumatic. So, take your pick.
Just don't recommend it either way.
Right. But
if you get one, you get double traumatized.
Right. But essentially they're playing on the psychology of your fear of God. And I mean, you get dehydrated, you get starved, like a lot of really nasty things can go on in an exorcism. And they literally, like, shock treatment your brain to correct the biochemistry, which is then the quote-unquote release of the demon. Is when your biochemistry is no longer disrupted by whatever was disrupting it. Right, so that's why it doesn't really work for, like, mental illnesses, because that's how your body is.
Right, that's just your body's actual natural chemistry.
Right.
Interesting. Okay. You mentioned shamans earlier.
Sure.
And I know that, like, in Native American cultures that, like, medicine men would have a form of exorcism. How many religions have this concept?
Not a whole lot. So you've got your Abrahamic ones, Islam, Christianity, Judaism.
Okay.
You've also got Buddhism.
Okay.
And then you do have, like, some Eastern, like Taoists and a lot of Chinese folk practice.
So not many pagan ones.
No, because possession isn't really a concept in paganism.
Well, voluntary possession is.
Voluntary, but the idea of needing to expel an entity violently from yourself, it's not really a concept that a lot of pagans subscribe to. Yeah, so, I mean, really, when you start looking at exorcism statistics and seeing, because it was like the 60s and 70s were, like, the big eras for possession and exorcism randomly in America. And when you look at statistics of who is getting possessed by malevolent entities and needing exorcists, well, it's all Christians. And it's all God-fearing Christians.
Right, we kind of touched on this a little bit in the possession episode, that, seeing is believing in a lot of ways.
Right.
And believing in something kind of makes it real to you.
Right. You literally are manifesting that.
In a way that it wouldn't be real to someone else.
Exactly.
So for pagans, they don't typically believe in
demons.
Your Christian version of a demon.
Right. So
they're not getting possessed.
They're not going to manifest that. And this is where the scientific community steps in and says, this is how we know this is fake. Is they say they are literally manifesting this demonic entity.
Sure.
Which is why exorcisms work.
Could be.
Because you're literally playing into something you believe in.
Sure. You're convincing yourself that it's working.
Right. And you're convincing yourself that you're possessed by a demon. Therefore, you start acting like it.
So where do you fall?
Kind of both. Honestly, I kind of take a really big middle route with it, because I do believe that demonic possession, not demonic, but like malevolent possession is incredibly complicated, and it has roots in both the supernatural and the natural. And I don't think it's so easy in black and white as to say, a demon's inside of you, let me scream some Latin at it and Shake my St. Benedict's cross blessed by the Archdiocese in Rome.
Are there other, like, more uncommon forms of exorcism?
Exorcisms are pretty universal in how they're performed. It's the expelling of something, and it's usually always very violent.
Why is it violent?
Because when you're forcing something to happen that doesn't want to have that happen.
That's fair. And I think it's important to distinguish, like, when you say violent, it's not them being violent towards you. It's more of if an entity is leaving your body and not doing so willingly, it's wreaking havoc along the way. You know, people come out of exorcisms with broken bones, and they have, you know, bruises all over their bodies.
Actually, a lot of people die.
People die.
Yeah, that's something too. So you guys, okay, we can pop.
So your physical body gets, like, wrecked.
To popular media. And one of the most popular, so obviously there's The Exorcist, the movie.
Sure.
Which most people know. But one of the ones that really details, I think, it's very Hollywood, but it still is a little more factual of what a really traumatic exorcism would be like, is The Exorcism of Emily Rose. So that movie was based on 3 true stories, and they kind of combined them into one.
Okay.
To create this girl, Emily Rose, and she experienced all of the symptoms and signs and everything and miracles that happened to 3 different exorcism cases. And the one that most heavily influenced it was a German case, and that woman died. And that was like the 50s, I think.
I've never watched actual video footage of an exorcism.
You can YouTube it.
I know.
You just YouTube
I know
that
it's
stuff, guys.
there, but I have not looked. But I have seen, like, in more popular media that when an exorcism is happening, that the entity will, like, contort and twist the human body in really, like, incomprehensible ways.
Absolutely. You know, the human body is incredible, and when you remove your conscious barriers, the body can twist, contort, and lift and do all kinds of really insane and powerful feats. So ultimately, in an exorcism, you have lost conscious control of your body. And, you know, in theory, something is controlling you, but the human body is so incredible that it is doing these things that normally, it's like hypnotism, where people do, oh, I've never done that, I can't do that, and then they get hypnotized, and all of a sudden they can.
Right.
Same principle here, except it's usually very violent.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the bodies are strong. And that's why you end up with torn muscles. You end up with a lot of, like, bruising. You end up with a lot of insane damage because you are literally so strong, you could rip your own body apart.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing in an exorcism, is ripping your body apart. The exorcists themselves typically
don't touch you.
Well, they do. They do lay on hands, but that's about as much as if they're not holding you down for their and your safety, typically you are not being touched.
Right.
So, I mean, it's all you doing it to your own body.
Or the demon inside of you, whatever you choose to believe.
Right. Well, it's whatever your conclusion is.
Sure.
But let's talk about a famous. So we've talked about some popular exorcisms, but let's talk about a really famous one that a lot of our Christian listeners are going to be familiar with.
Okay.
Okay. So this is called the Exorcism of Gerasene Demoniac.
Okay.
And this is basically, as it's known as the miracle of the swine.
Okay.
So remember in the Bible, in the Gospel of John, there were all of these demons.
Okay.
All right, so Jesus goes, like, across the sea to Gerasene, and basically this guy comes out of a cave, and he's all possessed.
Gerasene's a place?
Yeah.
I thought that was a girl's name.
No.
Okay.
So he comes out of the cave, and he's all possessed, right? And then Jesus is like, this ain't gonna fly, bro. And he's like, what are you gonna do about it, chief?
You should rewrite the Bible. I love this.
Right? And so then Jesus is like, what are you doing, man? And he's like, listen, my name's Legion, and I'm not going anywhere.
We are Legion.
Well, he doesn't say we are Legion. He says, my name is Legion. And so this is where, you know, everyone with the possession thing, they're like, we are Legion.
Sure.
This is where it stems from, is this
Interesting.
this story.
Okay. I never knew that.
Right. So he says, my name is Legion, and I'm like, I number the sea. Like,
Okay.
there's so many of me inside this one guy.
Yeah.
And Jesus is
so
like,
cool.
oh, bet?
A word?
Word? And,
Let me see.
yeah.
Show me.
Right. And then the demon is just like, but you're Jesus, who is the Son of God. So, like, can you maybe not, like, mess with me?
Can you maybe just leave me alone? I'm just kind of doing my own thing here.
Right. I'm just
in my cave.
Right.
So,
Right.
minding my own business.
Right. You know, I'm here. Maybe don't. And Jesus is like, oh, word?
That's pretty rude of Jesus to actually just show up and be like, hey, I'm just going to rip your body apart for a second to prove a point.
He's like, hey, leave my homeboy's body alone. And Legion's like, okay. No. No.
I don't want to.
No, thank you. And then Jesus says, okay, well, you don't want to be cast away, yeah? And Legion's all like,
okay, well, like Laura Ipsum or whatever.
right. And Legion's like, no, like, don't do that to us. So Jesus is like, okay, but I'm going to send you into these pigs. And so then Legion gets forced into this herd of pigs, and then Jesus runs them off the cliff and they all drown in the ocean.
Some questions.
Answers.
Does Jesus dress up as a Catholic priest?
No, Jesus was a rabbi.
Did Jesus have Saint Benedict's cross blessed by the Archdiocese?
Jesus predates Saint Benedict, the Archdiocese, and the Vatican.
Okay.
He does not predate Rome, however.
Okay. Why did he murder all those pigs?
Because it was full of demons.
You can just drown a demon?
You can drown the bodies in which the demons inhabit.
But don't they just get released into the world then?
They get released back into the ether. When the host dies, the demon has nowhere to go.
Okay.
So Jesus killed all the hosts, which was this herd of pigs.
Okay.
Because he drowned them.
Good.
At the bottom of the ocean. Because the demons were like, hey, bro, not cool. Don't send us away. And Jesus was like, okay, I won't.
I'm not. Just don't look behind me. Just walk over here real quick.
Right, oh my gosh, what's that? And then he puts them in a herd of swine and then just runs them off a cliff. Which is really funny because this story actually sparks a really huge debate in the animal rights activism.
Yeah, I can see why.
First off, why do animal rights activists care about what Jesus did in modern day? Like, right. Why is this an issue for you people?
Sure. Just pick your battles. This is something you can't change.
Right. What's the...
Also, would you rather a demon?
That's what I'm saying. Like, did you want one guy with, like, a whole legion of demons or pigs that Jesus drowned? That were demons.
Okay. I have not heard that story, but I enjoyed it.
You don't know that one?
I didn't
Miracle
know
of the
that's...
Swine? That's one of my weirdest, most favorite
so
Bible
funny.
stories. Is Jesus is just like, oh yeah, word.
A
No.
word?
I totally won't cast you away. And then he just drowns the whole herd of pigs.
So does he do it like a hand on your forehead, like be gone thought kind of style?
It doesn't say.
I bet he did.
I hope so. He just vibe checked that dude so hard in the
Yeah.
cave that he just pushed all the demons into this local herd of swine and then said, here, piggy, piggy.
I like
and
a
then,
story that's just like Jesus was somewhere he had no business being and then ruined someone's life and also the life of many pigs.
That's TLDR. That's exactly what happened.
I love that. That's fantastic. Okay.
It's considered a miracle.
It sounds miraculous. He went from one demon to a whole herd of demonic pigs.
I just want to know how Legion fit inside that one dude's body.
That guy was swole.
He must have been. He must have been swole.
Or his body was wrecked. Did the guy live? Like, I would assume Jesus healed him or whatever.
It really doesn't say. I think he did, though.
Of course. I mean, yeah.
Because, I mean, if Jesus is performing that kind of miracle, obviously,
sure. Yeah.
you know, he is the cream.
That's his MO.
And Jesus the
He is the cream.
Jesus the cream.
And we've come full circle, folks. You got anything else to say?
About exorcism?
Yeah.
No, just that you can't do it. Don't attempt it. Just call a professional.
All right, and with that, this has been Midnight Curiosities. Midnight Curiosities is hosted by One Eye Oddities, a new way to see magic. If you liked what you heard this week, tell your friends about it. Talk to us on social media about it. Give us a review. Yeah, there's so many things that you could do if you liked it.
Also, I'd like to give a shout out to a friend of mine who gave me some great feedback.
Okay.
And Audrey,
Okay.
thank you for your feedback.
Thank you,
and
Audrey.
look forward to the Tulpa episode.
Yes, I am looking forward to the Tulpa episode.
She wants to read Slenderman porn.
I want her to do that as well.
Okay.
We'll get there one day. But for now, we will continue our... Join us next week, and we're going to be talking about stigmata and miracles.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's another one of my favorite things.
It is. Still talk about Pope Francis.
I love a good case of stigmata.
Yeah, so, yeah. Until then, we, thank you guys for listening. I am Curator Raquel.
And I'm Curator War Beauty.
And as always, don't forget to...
Become an oddity.